Now let's move to the next presentation about an experience on training on OpenStreetMap, uh, which will be presenting by Laura and Zachary Moenve. Please welcome Laura and Zachary.
In Kibera called Carolina for Kibera. They also have a post-secondary program for girls, and we were thinking also of reaching out to them and seeing possible ways on how we can work with them to offer the training. The other solution was maybe also looking at a girls' secondary school that we can also work with them directly. So we had these two options that we were considering, and yeah. So lastly, we settled for the second solution, which was to reach out to one of the girls' school in Kibera. So the school that we've been working with is called Kibera Girls Soccer Academy. It was opened in 2006, and it's one of the first school to offer 100% free high school for girls in Kenya. And then every year, the school enrolls around 30 to 35 students, most of them who are from low-income areas. So they offer like free education for them. And they have also been able to graduate over 400 students in the last couple of years. So why KGSA? So we noticed that the school has a computer lab. How we knew about this is we did a story through Kibera News Network, and when we were watching the video, we realized that there was a computer class that was going on, and I noticed that some of the kids were watching YouTube on their computers, and I thought if they can watch YouTube, then you can also use this opportunity to also train them on OSM. Then most of those students also in that computer class are also taking geography classes, so we thought this will also be a good opportunity to also train them and explain how OSM training can supplement their learning. So as they're also learning in their class, so the idea of the training is just supplement. So they're able to have like a practical approach. So if they're learning about land use, they're able to come to the computer class, and using OSM, they're able to see how they can be able to digitize. So it becomes more practical because our education, unfortunately, is so theoretical, so you don't get a chance to practice. So we thought this will also be a good opportunity for them to practice. So we, at Kibera, we partnered with YouthMappers, and we put together a team that will be able to steer these sessions. And yeah, after assembling the team, we scheduled like a weekly call where we were able to discuss and just basically reflect and plan for the sessions. So the planning process was basically just look at what are the sessions that you're going to have this week. So the sessions are usually held on Fridays. So that's when the school has a clubs day in the afternoon. So they offered us a 2-hour slot where we can be doing the training. So the training planning was just to help us to plan for the sessions, then also to document the sessions. Basically, after you've done the training, we're able to do like a review how the sessions were, have a discussion. Then we were also documenting that process. Then also looking at training resources. So before we start, as I mentioned, we are looking at a training program that will supplement their learning in school. So we thought of maybe also coming with a curriculum that will cover, will mostly at least cover some of the topics that they are doing in classes. So we started looking at different curriculum, same learning curriculums that are there, and some of them that we are able to find was Teach OSM for high school, the YouthMappers Academy curriculum that they have there, the Learn OSM, and also maybe combining that now with already existing training materials that we've used as Map Kibera and also as YouthMappers, and also some of the documents that we've documented the previous training that we've done. So with the training, so for the curriculum, we settled for Teach OSM, and I think Laura will share more about now the aspect of localizing the curriculum.
Okay, yeah, so once we had a review of all the materials, we noticed the Teach OSM high school curriculum was what was closest to what we were trying to do as compared to the rest, because the rest sort of went into first to what OpenStreetMap was and what contributing looks like. But we also noticed, in as much as it was the closest to use, it wasn't relevant to the Kenyan context. So the examples they referenced and how some things were worded were just not going to be applicable in our case. So we thought of localizing it. So the main thing was to look at how do we still maintain the core principles of OpenStreetMap, making sure that at the end of the day, they do have an understanding of what the platform is, its use cases, but then being able to bring in case studies that we could reference. So a lot of the work, especially that Map Kibera is already doing, that they can see in the community. And then also how good can our resources be flexible so that we can also reuse them from time to time. So I guess while working through this, we just kept on wondering, since TeacherSM, I'm assuming, is supposed to be more of a global resource, I guess it's still a question that's not answered, but wondering, should TeacherSM customize its high school curriculum to meet local contexts? Because the good thing with it being the way it is at the moment is that it keeps it as a standard resource that anyone can try to work with, and it's easier for them to maintain and scale, so to add new topics on top of it. But then with customizing, then there's better alignment with local needs and preferences. So I guess a question for all of us to keep thinking and see if we want to put in maybe some of our volunteering time into improving TeacherSM. And yeah, just again to mention some of the pros and cons that we saw with localization is that yes, not just using the resource as it is, at least there's local relevance. So if you're teaching about mapping something and we can reference things that are within the community, then that's much better. So then because they are relating to the content, there's enhanced engagement. You can give them assignments to go into the community to work on things. There's better cultural integration. For example, one thing with KGSA, in terms of religion, it has both Christian and Muslim students, which is not very common in Kenya. So one of the exercises that we did on field papers, they both would come in with their results and would share, oh, I noticed these mosques are not there. And some would say, I noticed this church is not here. So sort of them also understanding culturally what it means for them. And obviously with all these things, there's better learning outcomes. But then when it comes to the cons, it takes too much time to localize any kind of resource. But also, if you can imagine, if all OSM communities within different regions try localizing, then there'll be inconsistencies in terms of maintaining everything. So say if there's a new thing, say for example, when we got AI-assisted mapping a couple of years ago, I think people might interpret it differently, and also the availability. So there might be inconsistencies in what these curriculums look like. Then there's limited scalability. So how then do you maintain, again, improve everything at the same time, and then requires a lot of training. So this is what the curriculum looked like for the first year that we did this program. It's just one thing that you'll notice is that the first 4 modules focused on introducing them, which I guess is something that stands out compared to trainings that we see within communities where day one you are in, you learn about OSM, you create your account, you start contributing. In a couple of days, you might already be into JOSM. So we had to stretch it out just to make the content to be digestible for them. So it's focused on introduction, then we did field papers, and then some mapping exercises where we just went into explaining how to map different things and how kind of different types of things that we interact with can actually be mapped and how they look like on maps. The timeline looked like this. So in an academic year, we had 8 months, but that's excluding midterm breaks. So in Kenya, we have every term we have 3 terms. Every time there's a midterm break, then there's school holidays, then there's exam periods. So during those times, we couldn't go to train. So it looks like, yes, it's 8 months long, but it's actually just like 13 weeks. And then you can see sort of the jumps. So say, for example, from June to September, it's because August is a school holiday. So there was that, which will explain the challenges. Yeah.
So as I mentioned, the sessions are usually in the afternoon. most of the time the kids have been in class the whole day. So what you are trying to do, structure the session, is that try to avoid also bombarding them with a lot of information just after their classes, then they're from lunch break. So how we did it was we introduced quizzes and exercises, so to just make it more interactive. Then after every session, we'll have questions set on Kahoot that will help them also to do like recap. So we did last week on introduction to OpenStreetMap. Then we'll have questions related to that session. It will help them to do like a recap. So constantly they'll be able to remember the previous session we did this, and it also helped in continuity. So there wasn't like any break. So when you're starting, you just do a recap and then pick up from there for the next session. Then also introducing a lot of fun games. We were forced to come up with games by ourselves, but also at the same time also engaging the students, so helping them also to think of games that they can use to just ease up the session, to avoid it to be like more like a lecture. So at least there's a break in between where they're able to clear their mind and continue the session. So also at the same time we had icebreakers. So at the beginning of the session, we just do like an icebreaker, just again break the space, so to make it more conducive for the session. So as I mentioned, they are just from lunch break, and sometimes it gets hot in Kenya, so having a session in the afternoon could be hard. So the icebreakers also just to warm them up for the incoming session. So apart from the curriculum that we shared, we also incorporated other components. So one of the things that we're also thinking of is to do career talks. So to just also avoid having like session after session after session on OSM. So in between, we'll just also incorporate other sessions. So we had career talks where we invited and hosted early career professionals whose work uses map and open mapping to share their career journeys and how they use maps. So we were privileged to have Hot OSM, that's SI Hub office, come and share their story. We had Courtney from YouthMappers, and also Laura had a session that she did. We also had one of the organizations called APHRC who came and also had a talk. We also had some team members from OSM Kenya, most of them students from universities who have also attended the session and gave a career talk. I think this will also to help them understand that, yes, you're being taught about OSM. I think one of the questions that was coming was, from the students was, now you're introducing us to OSM. That does mean that we now leave our career path and now focus on OSM. But now what we are trying to help them is also see that you can pursue your career, but also at the same time be a OSM contributor. You can be a doctor, you can be a lawyer, but also on your free time can also be contributing to OSM. I think with time that understanding was able to, they were able to understand that concept and became much easier. And then we also had some session on digital skills where we had one of the volunteers who was helping us to handle those sessions. So some of the topics that she handled were around cyber security awareness and online safety. They are young kids. Most of them are ranged between 14 to 18. So that's the age for high schoolers. So as much as we're also exposing them to online materials, it's also good to remind them that it's good to have that online safety and just teaching them on that. We also had a session on graphic design. So this was also from some of the suggestions from the students. So we told them, asked them to share some of the things that they also want to learn apart from OSM. So one that came so much clearly was graphic design. So we got her to come and help with that, and also some introduction to AI. So the last couple of years, we have had a number of students that we started with 30 at the beginning, and more like around 5 of them were in Form 4, so they were about to graduate. So we've had that transition. So the group has a mixture of those who are joining high school, but also those who are about to graduate. So we've had a number of those who have graduated and out of school now. And then the numbers has been changing. So we have the the same number of students who are maybe Form 1, Form 2, Form 3, who are still going on with the training, but also new students who are joining high school and are interested also in the training were also able to join us. So currently, the number of students that we've been able to train ranges between around approximately, let's say, 50, considering those that have graduated and those who are also still part of the training.
Okay, so some of the challenges that we faced over the last 3 years. So the first thing is technical challenges. So when it comes to OpenStreetMap accounts, it's required to have an email address, and to get an email address, you need to be over 18, I think. So that was a blocker in a way. So we actually did not end up making actual contributions to OpenStreetMap. So they just used the platforms as a playground since it was a shared account. Then obviously a lot of internet connectivity issues based on the location that we were in. Then the curriculum we've already talked about, like it was time intensive, resource intensive to actually customize the curriculum to make sense for high schoolers and also for the Kenyan context. And also in terms of the school schedule, which I was sharing earlier, the breaks meant during those weeks we were not there. Then another challenge was continuity. So for example, for the Form 4 students, that's like the last year for high school in Kenya, once they finish, there's a gap in terms of how do we then engage them before they join university or they can join a YouthMappers chapter. And also first year students who joined in the second year, we were running an advanced track, so I think it was also a little bit difficult for them to grasp all the concepts. Then last challenge is scaling. So because of how the things are structured, it's impossible to run this training across different schools unless you have a bigger team that is distributed. So it just meant one school per year. Some of the lessons, I guess, that we learned during the process that I think could be used even for general OSM training programs is that laying foundations is important. I know we're used to our 1 hour mapathons where, as I shared earlier, you create your account and you're already contributing, but if you can spend more time explaining what the platform is, what the history is, before jumping into contributions, then there might be room to getting data of higher quality. Another thing was that teaching mapping can be fun. So again, if there's room for us to integrate games, music, movies, documentaries into our learning processes, that can make teaching mapping and learning mapping to be a little bit more fun, especially because we are always doing it on our free time. Then when it comes to bridging the gender gap within the OSM community, there's room for working with high school students, because if they're introduced that early, then they consider careers in geography or even consider contributing to OSM in the long term. So it might be also a good solution in terms of thinking about making the space more diverse. And then, when it comes also to our training programs, introducing different kinds of things like career talks, reflection and discussion sessions are also good. So we had a short video that we did, that actually Steve did earlier, I think after year 1, just explaining it. So I'm just going to play it before we move to Q&A. For me, it was important that we conduct this training to high school students, because most of the time, when it comes to OpenStreetMap and the open mapping trainings that we've been doing, we usually start at the university level and for early career professionals. But in this case, I thought it was important to introduce this to younger people in high school, and also it would be a chance to talk to them about exploring a career in the mapping space, in the geography space.
The first thing that I learned is how to allocate, to actually know what a map is, what the uses of a map, Because before that, I was unaware. I just thought a map is used only in exams. But now I know maps can be used to find certain things or location or people, and it consists of a lot.
If I talk on the level of students, their primary aim now is academics, and the information that they are getting and also the skills that they are learning will help them in uplifting their performance in geography as a subject. Because when you look at geographical information system, is more inclined into geography as a subject in school. That is one of the subjects also taught in school.
Either if it's the biblical one or the historical one, when you came in, that like that's what land cover is. But land use is how as humans are interacting with that land cover.
OpenStreetMap is a field that should be learned by everybody because it helps in a daily basis. It also helps a lot of people, like for example the government, when there's trouble they can easily locate the place or the area that is under trouble. And also for me, it has helped so much in geography because I also study geography and we do a lot of map work in calculating, locating areas, roads, and everything else.
The sessions were sort of follow each other in a way that what we learned this time builds on what we learned the previous time. So, for example, we started with the basics on what the platform is, what OpenStreetMap is, what mapping is, and then session by session we are sort of building up and building up and building up. So it also makes it easier for them to understand and like see how they are closely related. The topics are closely related to each other.
Here in school, I do geography, so it also helps because I also have, on my exams, I also have to check maps. So now I'm good at it because before that I was really poor. But with OSM helps me now to know to allocate things, points, nodes, and roads, things which I had troubles allocating with.
For the teachers, is that you are rating their level in terms of skills and knowledge about the subjects that they are learning in school. So at least it's making our work easy as teachers when they come to teach such kind of areas in geography. They'll have even better, more understanding in those areas.
And for the building, we've located Joseph's Catholic Church.
Through us, the ones that are undergoing the training, we are also able to help the ones that aren't. And in a way, actually in our class, in geography class, we are a lot, so we get to help each other out.
I don't think we've had a session where it was like purely technical. It has been linked to sort of a challenge that we face in society. So, for example, today we are covering agriculture and we talked about food insecurity and things like in the northern part of the country where there's drought. So how does mapping agriculture land uses inform food security and food insecurity? And you could see even how the students are asking us how government can use that.
The government uses maps to check, to allocate the number of people in a certain area, or to see which type of religion is consuming a large part of a nation or something like that.
The challenges we had at the first, where we had a bigger number, then some students came and asked me whether they can drop it because they could not connect mapping and what they are doing. So until it was explained to them, then they did realize the benefits of going through the course.
And it wasn't easy for me, so I decided to ask our trainer. There was Zach, and yeah, I can only remember Zach's name. So it was easy to talk to them, and I figured out how to interpret it easily.
For example, I'm aware that Map Kibera is planning to sort of take in those who would be interested in for their programs, so the different mapping projects that they engage in. So if there would be need for some sort of training support, I'm ready to jump in.
I'd like it to continue because For me, I want to continue the training even after I finish Form 4 because I want to know everything. I want to know the cultures, different religions. I want to learn more about the world around me.
The experience that they are acquiring right now, I think that's also starting preparing them to the job market. Maybe some of them will decide to come and volunteer at MAP Kibera. Already they have that required experience.
Actually, I'm planning on also next year when the training resumes, I also want to rejoin again, to continue, so I can get myself more skills about it. I don't want it to end here.
We have Kahoot. It actually keeps the memory going. You've done something the previous Saturday or Friday, and the way they remind you is that you play a certain game, Kahoot. It gets you to remember everything that you've learned previously.
One thing that we do is we usually use this platform called Kahoot, which is like I'd say a platform that allows us to gamify education. So what we do is for each session, we set up a sort of questionnaire that is based on the previous session or sessions. And then we get to have it live at the beginning of a class. And we basically have them signing in and sort of answering the questions. And it's in sort of a very casual format.
It's been fun, actually. Me and my members, the computer members, and also to the ones that underwent and are still undergoing the training, they were able to at least delve deeper because we've had other people who are very interested in this. We've had some other students who'd like to come here, and we've also been teaching them.
This is a girls-only school, so we've been able to even host like a career session with one of our steering committee members, who's actually the program director for Ibrahim Courtney Clark, who was here a couple of months ago, and she was able to come in and speak to the students and share with them on career and encourage them to take up STEM courses.
The career talk that was organized, so it made them clearly pick their career paths, that those who had doubts were now able to pick their career paths clearly.
I think OSM should be shared through all schools in Kenya because it's really helpful.
So for this project, it's only been done between YouthMappers and MAP Kibera, and obviously the school KGSA. And MAP Kibera has been really central, and I'd say the main partner for this project, because they were the ones who are able to approach the school, interact with the teachers, sort of schedule the sessions, and also like they have extensive knowledge in this area as well.
What's next? From this session, we're looking at ways on how we can collaborate with other OSM communities, specifically in Africa, who are conducting similar programs, to see if there are ways on how we can develop and publish a regional curriculum. So based on different regions, we can discuss and see how we can come up with curriculum that fits certain regions in Africa and other parts of the world. Then we are also thinking of designing programs beyond high school. So most of the students are also graduating. So there's that gap when they are graduating and before they go to university. So we are looking at ways on how we can also design a program that will help them to continue the training before they join university. So just like a bridge between when they are done with their high school and before they go to university. And hopefully this will also help them. If they get a chance to go to the university, at least they have the skills. They're able to even set up a YouthMappers chapter, because that's another thing that we've been reminding them, that you're in high school, but if you get a chance to go to university, there are YouthMappers chapters that are there that you can also plug into. So this is just to help them before they go to university, at least have another training program that can also help with the continuity. Because one of the challenges that now we're having is once they graduate, we kind of lose them. So we are hoping that we'll be able to get hold of them when they get out of high school. And maybe I just shout out to the rest of the team that were part of this. There's Peter, Lucy is also here, Steve who did the video. We have Marceline who's conducting the digital skills training. We have Eve who was part of the KNN team. We also have Sharon. The discussion that we had, I was talking about in the beginning, was between Sharon and Laura. We just stayed behind after one of our meetings. That's when we came up with this idea. So thank you so much, guys, for your work.
Any question, comments for Sharon, for Laura? Ready for
Okay.
Yeah, not a question particular, but yeah, a comment because I think such initiative, I especially with Moluba, we would like to collaborate because I remember since 2 years we launched it. Yeah, because I remember last 2 years we launched an initiative, Francophone initiative, and we made a research and we identified that most of times Francophone community, we don't participate in OSM, I would say activities because of the language. So we have identified language barrier as a main problem. And we have started with training. We train community, especially in Cameroon and in GRC. And unfortunately, we left. We don't really know why, but we left. And seeing such amazing project that they did, we'll be really happy to develop curricula, especially not only in French, but also in English and other language, especially to limit language barriers and also involve more people. Yeah, thank you. Another question?
First, encouragement. Thank you. It's fascinating work. I would also like to. Oh, could you just? Oh, then I get this. First, an encouragement. That's such great work for doing this. And then, in addition, I would also like to encourage you accept the inconsistencies because there's also a lot of information and message in there. The people from the other end of the world just understand many things, not? And if you get these things documented, localized, we will get a certain chance to understand what's really going on and not doing things that are totally not useful to you. So it's important. It's important to not kill the microphone, to localize and customize things and make this open because it's the only way for other people to get an understanding and a feeling what's going on, and also for the people, it's enormously you get much more buy-in, and that's in the end the thing we want to have. We want to have the trust and the understanding of the people. And for that reason, please feel encouraged to customize and to localize.
Hello. I have like a three-part question. It's amazing that you did engaging with high schools, but I want to ask what is the difference since you have been YouthMappers and OSM contributor? What is the difference of training with graduate or undergrad students and high schools? And that's the first question. And the second question is how did you find any challenges engaging with academians, because most of the cases the OpenStreetMap contribution is volunteerism, and in many countries or many institutions they just don't want to engage voluntary works like OpenStreetMapping into their academics. So, and the third one is do you have any lesson points if other OSM communities wants to replicate your model, since the topic is replicable model? So how do we actually keep what in mind if you want to replicate in other communities? And last question is why did you choose sorry why did you choose high school students, and what's your future vision on this?
So maybe we divide them across ourselves. I'll start with the first one since you asked for a perspective on the different experiences we've had training university students versus high school students. So for university students, I think because there's already like the YouthMappers network, so there's already people who are interested in it. So it's sort of just delivering the training and making sure that they sort of meet their goals. But for high school students, they have no idea what especially for the Kenyan context, they don't know what OpenStreetMap is. So you're literally starting from level 0. So that's why you saw that in our curriculum, we spent a lot of time introducing. So also that means more time, because for university students, within 2 sessions, you have people contributing, submitting change sets. For high school students, not really the case. So I'd just say technical levels are different. And then the ease in terms of what you can do is also different. Because for high school students, how we were connecting them was through the sessions there and then. For university students, you have a chance to follow up with people on WhatsApp. Maybe they can post their challenges. But for us, we had to wait till the following week to see if there are any new questions. So I think it's just in terms of delivery that one has to adjust with the audience.
I'll answer the last one, why high school. I think the idea was to also start them early. I think we have, if you get a Form 1 who's who just joined high school, if you do it for 4 years, the interest, I think the whole concept about OSM will be instilled for them. It wasn't be like something that is rushed, but I think you'll continue to interact with them and many other tools that we'll be able to introduce. So it's just start them early. We would have loved even to go to the primary level, but now the level of understanding is a bit different. So we thought high school, one, because also the geographic classes that they're taking and also computer classes. So it's just build up on that and just start them early. So by the time they're getting to you, because we've also noticed challenges with when guys go to university, there's a lot of drop off because of the interest. We were just introduced OSM quickly, created an account, started contributing. But for the high school, it's just building the interest. So that's why we focus so much on, built a lot of time on just help them understand why OSM, what's the importance of maps, what are ways and how maps can be able to be used. So we start them slowly by slowly. By the time we are done in 4 years, I think by the time they're joining YouthMappers, they have a good understanding why OSM, and they can be also good ambassadors because they have a good understanding of the whole concept about OSM.
Then I'll just keep you from your lunch even longer and answer your last 2 questions on working with academia. For us, we were lucky because the teacher in charge of the computer club was already for it. So we didn't have to advocate as much in terms of just getting the time. So that was easy for us. So maybe if you could get contacts within schools of people who can help. Then in terms of replicability, that's a good question. We have not yet published this, but it should be in the works, especially once we collaborate with other OSM communities and put it out on OSM Wiki for everyone to access and review and reuse. Yeah.
Sorry, maybe you can extend the discussion with Laura and Zachary. Let's take one more. Yeah, comment. Okay. Feel free to do what. Okay. We'll take one question from the venue.
Okay. Hi, everyone. This is more of a comment and also just to replicate. We have already replicated this in Uganda and also we've seen it in Tanzania. And what majorly is to not only look at stopping here, you could probably look at integrating into the local curriculum for the schools. This is because they're already doing this, but they're doing it in theory. For example, now in Uganda, we have Geography Paper 1, whereby they just give them like separate imagery and they have to interpret it. So when you show them OSM, they kind of grows their interests, and then later on it will be easier to have the gender gap closed. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the additional contribution. One last more question from the venue list before we close this session. So, did you have any worries or situation of student editing OpenStreetMap with bad, wrong data map vandalism?
Yes. So we were a bit careful with that. So what we did, we didn't directly link them to the main platform. So I think for almost the first year, we just used the ID walkthrough. That's what they were using. So whatever they were doing was not going directly to OSM. So it was just basically to help them to practice. And I just learned recently there's also OSM sandbox. I think we will also incorporate that. So what we did was mainly focus on, I think the last 2 years we just focused on practice before we allow them to add it directly to OSM. So we have not had any case where the students are editing directly to OSM. So yeah, so everything just offline. Even now we are using JOSAM. So just download the data and then they do it offline. Then just save the file. But we've not allowed them to contribute directly to OSM. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Zach and Laura, for a great presentation, and also thanks for the job that you're doing within your community. Please feel free to reach out to them if you want to extend the discussion with them. And also, sorry, we are out of time. We are really sorry about it. And yeah, thank you for all for joining, and feel free to go for the lunch. Thank you.